Many people have asked me how to fight and what to do if they're falsely accused or facing a nightmarish criminal or divorce court battle. Here are my 10 suggestions. But really, these are just common sense things that are all intertwined. Number 1, self-control. Wrong decisions are the easiest to make when you're under stress. A man cannot think and act strategically, and is at his weakest when he's unable to assert self-control and keep a cool head during crisis situations. No matter how bad and how unjust the situation, the only way to minimize losses and maximize gains is through self-control. Never lose self-control when dealing with courts, lawyers, guardian ad litems, therapists, anyone else for that matter. Number 2, credibility. Do not engage in frivolous actions, whether it's with the courts or police or CPS. This is not a game. Credibility and measured conduct is key, regardless of how corrupt or unjust the system is, or how other involved parties conduct themselves. Always hold yourself to the highest standards. Your credibility is everything. Number 3, strength, courage, and will. Know the difference between strength and weakness in the real world. The stereotypical alpha males may come to mind when we think of strength and courage. In reality, the legal system can drive alpha types to self-destruct. Many suicides during custody battles, divorces, and false allegations are committed by alpha-type males, some who have survived the horrors of wars but cannot survive the horrors of our court systems. The point is, to be strong and courageous may not be what many might think. Sometimes letting go of your pride and your ego and doing everything you must to see your children and to save your children is strength and courage. Never giving up fighting for what matters most is strength and courage. Number 4, don't initiate legal actions or go into a courtroom without an attorney. In my experience, it is very difficult to prevail pro se. Never be foolish enough to think that you're Perry Mason, or that the court will somehow show you understanding and compassion. A pro se litigant risks his rights, his freedom, and the safety of his children by making a colossal mistake to take any action without an attorney next to him. There are exceptions, but the general rule of thumb is not to show up in court without a lawyer. Judges don't want to deal with you. You're a liability to deal with in a court. You're too involved. They can't trust everything you say. They'd rather deal with a lawyer, no matter how skillful you are, how detailed. You can help your lawyer, just don't show up to court without a lawyer. To lose, number 5, to lose is to stop fighting. Remember that you never lose as long as you keep fighting. You only lose when you stop fighting and accept defeat. Fighting is the only thing that changes anything, and losing is part of the process of winning. I would not be here, and my children would not be with me if I didn't overcome many, many losses and kept fighting anyway. Number 6, time can be your ally. Time can be on your side if you learn to accept your fight and make time your friend. You only lose when you stop fighting. If you don't like to lose, then fight on and you'll never lose. Number 7, determination and persistence. Fighting for injustice is not a sprint. Fighting injustice is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Be relentless. It's okay to be mad. It's not okay to let it build up inside you and do nothing about it. There's only one type of power, and that is the power of the will. Turn your pain, your anger, and your frustration into a strong will and fight on. Number 8. This one's where a lot of people are going to get angry with me. Drinking alcohol or any substance abuse dulls your mind, weakens your body, and can undermine your effectiveness. Engage in activities and habits that strengthen you. Work out your frustrations and anxieties by physically strengthening yourselves and your body and sharpening your mind in the process. Number 9, be effective. This is the most important one, maybe. Be effective. The key is effectiveness. Because that is all that matters when fighting for your children, your freedom, or your life. To be effective means that everything you do, every actions that you take should be helpful towards your goal. Self-control, measured actions, be effective. Number 10, learn the tools and create new ones as needed in order to help you be more effective. Do your homework. Read Cases and Decisions. Read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It may not be helpful, but it's therapeutic. And it might help you learn to think. Okay? So read The Art of War. It may not be directly helpful to your situation, but it will at least help you think more strategically. If you want to win in the real world, you need to try to understand the real world better than your opponents. And sometimes, if you're willing to fight to win, you can make a difference. You can save your children, and maybe even leave a better world in the process. So those are my few basic suggestions. In conclusion, not sure if I laid out the case, but regardless, we're in the middle of a cultural revolution against Americans, against American culture and against the constitutional rule of law. In this environment, if anyone wants to know just how powerful and vital prosecutors are, then look no further than George Soros, who's funding district attorney races all over America right now in order to install gatekeepers to criminal charges who agree with his ideology in deciding who to charge and prosecute and who not to prosecute and charge. What will this mean? Will certain identity groups of people not get criminally charged, but others will? Just based on George Soros' position, for example. May not be relevant here, but in regards to illegal immigration, will illegal immigrants get a complete pass and Americans will be prosecuted for not accommodating them? Our system of justice has been turned against us more and more, to abuse and beat us down more and more. That's what the trend is. And at the center of it are prosecutors, installed by political means, and control who gets targeted and punished and who gets a free pass for their crimes. Again, due process and presumption of innocence, those are just words. Words, the true meaning of which we must fight to define and enforce. Key word there is fight. There's no other choice. The founding fathers warned that Americans would have to fight to protect their rights because they will be systemically eroded. Many people believe that the U.S. Constitution is there to protect us, but it can't protect us if we neglect to protect it. And it seems we failed miserably to protect it, failed to fight for it, failed to support all the organizations and very brave attorneys who burn out fighting to protect it. I want to end with this little story. I was not born here. I'm an Eastern European Slav who came here at the age of 10. For most of my life, I've lived in Boston, where architectural relics and ghosts of America's history are still there to speak to those who will listen and take notice of what this nation and its people stood for and fought for. In Boston Harbor, there's a very special ship called the USS Constitution, which is the world's oldest still commissioned naval ship and one of the original 6 Navy frigates. It was commissioned and named the Constitution by George Washington himself. And it was built in Boston, using very strong southern oak from Georgia and copper and brass fittings supplied by Paul Revere. You know that Paul Revere? It took on and won against the mightiest navy in the world, defeating 5 British warships, and earned itself the name of Ironside in the process, in the battle against Guerriere. Some 200 years ago, a ragtag army and later navy of your forefathers told the British, "We don't care how strong you think you are. We'll fight you. We'll fight you on land, and we'll take these here oak logs, and we'll build a navy. And then we'll fight you on the seas as well. Because we don't care about your corrupt class society of untouchable elites. You won't tread on us." Every American should go to the Charlestown Navy Yard in Boston and walk on the decks of the USS Constitution and think about that. Old Ironside still stands in Boston Harbor today with all its cannons ready to fight to defend Americans. All that it ever needed was to be cherished enough for people to fight to preserve it. And there it is. The only preserved ship like it in the world. And it was aptly named the Constitution, because just like this majestic ship, the actual U.S. Constitution document left to Americans by its founding fathers is also still here, ready to be used to defend the rights and liberties of Americans if people cherish it enough to fight, to defend and reinforce it now as is needed. so this founding document can be strong enough to continue to defend this nation and its children in return. That is what I am fighting for, and I hope others will too. Thank you, and God bless.